Hello, welcome Club Familia members. Welcome to our 2025 fall release tastings. I'm here with my brother Mike and wonderful winemaker James MacPhail here. We're here today to walk you through these wonderful wines that we're so excited about. I get excited about every release, but there's something special about this one. With this 2023 vintage, we're really starting to get these wines out to you, our wonderful family members, and I'm just so excited to taste them. How about you? You excited?
I'm ready.
You excited, Mike?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I bet you're wondering, where are we? Where are we? We are not kidnapped. We're not put somewhere in which, this is a good place to be kidnapped, right? We're kidnapped. But yeah, we are in our family parlor, our new Sangiacomo family parlor. It's up. Those of you who've been to our club terrace, tasting terrace, we built this beautiful room up through this spiral staircase. I bet a lot of you walk through there like, what is up there? Well, we're unveiling it today. We have these beautiful memorable photos that someone will share today. So you got to come visit and ask for the family parlor. So with that, we thought it was a great opportunity to come up here, see our beautiful home ranch. So this was an original ranch our grandfather bought in 1927. And it actually has a lot of history, as you know. And so, Mike, you want to talk about some of the history that actually before our grandfather Vittorio bought it. So,
yes, absolutely. So this photo right here is from the 1800s, and this is part of the home ranch, and it used to be a peach orchard. And a family before us, the Watts family, had this. And here's a photo back to the 1800s with a gentleman dressed in the circa wear of 1800s, I should say, late 1800s.
That may be our new hospitality attire. Maybe
absolutely.
We're not going to come dressed like that.
So anyway, going back a little ways, but the family has been farming here since 1927. But prior to that, long before that, they were farming lots of fruits and vegetables and fruit from these exact soils.
Awesome. So it's so cool. There's obviously a lot of history here. I've gone through the pears, or peaches, the pears, now grapes, and now we were just talking. We're about to have our 2025 harvest, which will be the 10th harvest for Sangiacomo Wines, which is so amazing.
Where did the time go?
Exactly. But we have these wonderful 2023, which is turned out to be, we were just talking earlier, it's turned out it's this amazing vintage. And as we release every 2023 wine, it continues to showcase how special it is. So without further ado, let's get started and taste these amazing wines.
All right.
So go for it. 2023 Sonoma Coast Chardonnay. So I think those of you that saw last spring shipment, or excuse me, spring shipment wines, we talked a lot about the 2023 vintage and how special it is. So James, why don't you talk about that, talk about this wine, and kind of we've had lots of discussions about the 23s and how special they are, and let's start with the Sonoma Coast
21s. As you know, we've had such a kind of diversity in vintages, recently, from 20. 23, as you may or may not know, was a very late vintage for us, pretty much across the board for all varieties. Pretty much averaged about 30 days after normal.
Latest harvest ever on our harvest in 50 harvests. It's the latest harvest from your.
So we kind of joke because we've got vineyard workers, staff, interns in the cellar, and we were waiting and we were waiting and we were waiting. But there is something to be said about that waiting period and what the fruit on the vine is doing. There is a brightness, a freshness. There's just kind of a purity to these wines. So I think that the 23 vintage, I really, really like the 23 vintage. I mean, that's kind of where it's going to be. I think it's going to be showcased for a long time.
So this 23 Sonoma Coast is made up of 5 vineyards: or Catarina, Robert Road, Keyser, Home Ranch, and Green Acres. So let's taste the wine. James, let's taste it and let us know the winemakers. No.
So this 23 showing really good acid, but one of the reasons why I love this vintage, it also has some weight, some structure, Sometimes you can have a vintage that's, some of those notes kind of will show a little bit more like acid, like acidity. So there's a brightness to it, but there's also great weight and texture. And just a really key point too. You said earlier about how each of these vineyards kind of lends something to the wine. There's a lot of layers to this wine. So you can kind of go through, I get a little bit of Catarina, there's a little bit of Roberts Road. Green, the bright acidity of Green Acres, that wet stone kind of river rock, quality that you get from Green Acres. But yet the really kind of bright or kind of rich Winty from Catarina. You can almost kind of point out there's that layer, there's that contribution to the wine that comes from each vineyard. That's just, I think you're really gonna love it.
To me, it's mouthwatering. I mean,
Yeah, it's mouthwatering.
Mouthwatering.
Yeah.
You get the acid,
The acidity is really,
the richness, and it's just like
I'm already salivating.
I'm sorry. Exactly. It's your everyday, everyday Chardonnay.
Yes.
That's what I like to call.
Nice balance of new oak, only about 32% new.
Okay.
So it's not, the oak's not showing. It's really beautifully integrated right now. So adding a nice little bit of oak tannin as well. Some good structure to it.
Wonderful. Great. So, as we alluded to with the 5 different vineyards, there's one key component to the Sonoma Coast, which is kind of the backbone, I guess, I'd like to say, of our Chardonnays is our Green Acres Chardonnay. So, what do you say we move on to?
Let's do Green Acres.
2023 Green Forest. Okay, now we're moving on to our 2023 Green Acres Chardonnay. So Green Acres is the first vineyard that we planted in 1969. And why is that a great year? Well, it's the first time our family ventured into the wine business, but it's also the same year Mike was born. So that's why it's special to our family for a lot of reasons. So, Mike, why don't you start with the soil, the dirt, where Green Acres. I mean, Green Acres to me, from a vineyard standpoint, we have over 20 wineries that source fruit from there. Many vineyard designates. Again, we've had, obviously it was kind of where we learned. My dad and uncles and aunt cut their teeth on learning viticulture.
Yep.
We cut our teeth, and we stubbed our toe and did a lot of other things out there doing. But it's the soil. So why don't you talk about, it's surrounded by 3 creeks: Sonoma Creek, Roger Creek, Fowler Creek. It's just a creek bed of rock and stone. But, maybe why don't you want to talk a little about soil, and maybe have a photo.
I might have
Another visual?
Yeah,
Another visual.
There we go. So Green Acres is primarily Zamora silty clay loam, as you can see the little break up here on the photo. But what, as Steve talked about, it's situated between 3 creeks, and over the centuries, as you have floods, as the land erodes from the hills down, there's gravel coming down, rolled stone, a lot of silt, and a little bit of clay that slides down as well. And we're not talking about a couple years, we're talking thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. That changes the complexity, or changes the makeup of that soil. And as it comes down, then they're slowly depositing all those things we just talked about, and you start stacking that on top of each other thousands of years, and now you have basically the makings of the soil of which Green Acres. And Green Acres is definitely unique of all our sites. It definitely has more of the rolled stone and the silt compared to the other sites we've had. So that's what makes it kind of unique for us.
Yeah, we like to say, so obviously the hills, the rocks and stone, the hills actually come to us. And it's through the centuries, thousands of years, like all this rock and stone, as Mike alluded, comes to us. So it's not there's some undulation, so it's not very hilly, but all that creek, all that hillside rock and stuff comes to us, right? So, and Green Acres, when we launched our label in 2016, it was one of the first vineyards, home ranch, which is where we started. That was one of our vineyard designated. And Green Acres was the number 2. And James was like, I finally get to work with Green Acres. So excited. So, because James, we met him at our Roberts Road vineyard. He was one of the first winemakers to make Pinot Noir from Roberts Road. He'd had lots of our Chardonnays over there from Green Acres, and loved them. And he's like, I finally get to work with Green Acres. So, James, you want to talk a little about the Green Acres Chardonnay and the Sangiacomo wine
Yes.
portfolio?
So one of the reasons why I've loved this Chardonnay, or I should say the Chardonnays from Green Acres, prior to even starting with the Sangiacomos on this project, was that Green Acres, most of the producers that made Green Acres Chardonnay, the wines showcased a kind of a purity, a brightness, a freshness, with that classic kind of wet stone, river rock component, salinity. As Mike alluded to earlier, of course, with the creeks, and the soil type, all lends, itself to that component in the wine. And we see that, we speak about that a lot, about like a sense of place, like a taste of place. And I think this is one of those Chardonnays that exhibits that, taste of place. Like you taste Green Acres and you're like, everything fires. Like, that's a Green Acres Chardonnay because it has those components. I save all my super geeky barrel cooperages for Green Acres, since it's a single vineyard. All of the barrels that this wine goes into, there's only about 27% new French oak on this 2023. But that French oak lends a little texture, some weight, some oak tannin that contributes to the wine. So this 2023 has a TA of 7.1. If you were to just look at that number, that's a high, level of titratable acidity if you just looked at that number. But tasting it, it's rich, it's got weight, but still has really nice acidity. So kind of best of both worlds.
So that means it will age.
Age really well because the pH is low. Little residual malic here in the 23.
All right. Well, good. We are at that time. We could talk Chardonnay all day.
Yeah, exactly.
So, but I think it's time to transition to Pinot Noir. We have our 2023 Sonoma Coast and the legendary ViMaria 2023. Mike, you want to talk about kind of our family's, just the path of Pinot Noir? Like, growers, just as winemakers go down the path of Pinot Noir through trials and tribulations, it's equally, just curvy, bumpy path for growers as well.
Absolutely. I think from where we were in 1969, we're planting at 8x12 spacing, and you had a couple different clones and very limited rootstocks. How you grow Pinot Noir, and basically it's kind of a finicky grape to make, and it certainly is a finicky variety to grow. And there's just so many things we've learned since 1969 about Pinot Noir, more so than Chardonnay and more so than any variety we've grown. It's so sensitive to so many certain things that each time you plant and each vintage you go through, you learn a lot more about Pinot Noir than any other variety. And, since we started it in 69, we've just learned so much, and we're continuing to learn every year and kind of to tweak Pinot Noir into getting to where it can be its best self. And it's a challenge. And James will probably talk about it in the winery, but in the field and stuff, every little detail you change, you can kind of see it in the wine. So it's been a great run, a great ride, continues to be a great run. And, I'm looking forward to, the next future vintages, because we've come so far since 1969 and how we grow it and how it's made. And it shows kind of the quality of the fruit now.
Let's talk about our 2023 Sonoma Coast Pinot Noir. So as we alluded to, Sonoma Coast has lots of our vineyards in it, which is like having lots of our kids in. Do you have a favorite? Ask Mike and have him. No, we don't have a favorite. Okay, you don't have a favorite kid. All right.
They're both fantastic.
They're both. Yeah, that's a great answer. So that's the test. So 2023, we've talked a lot about that vintage. We've been tasting these wines. We taste all these wines periodically. We want to make sure that they're ready for you guys, Club Famiglia members. We will not release a wine until they're ready to just they're in that like really ideal spot. And it's been fun going through these. It's like, Sonoma Coast, the previous vintages released more in the February, and this one we held off. It's singing right now. Right. So let's talk about the 2023 Sonoma Coast Pinot.
So we mentioned earlier, of course, 23 vintage. So we are a little bit, well, quite a bit, I should say, later in harvesting this fruit. So I had a lot longer time on the vine to develop all those great aromatic and flavor compounds. And so when I put the Sonoma Coast Chardonnay and the Sonoma Coast Pinot together as a blend, this has what, 5 vineyards in it.
Yeah. Frederick, Keyser, Novero, Lakeville, and Roberts.
That's right.
Okay.
So what's really important, we've touched on this before, but every vintage is a clean slate, right? You go into the vintage without any, preconceptions of, this vineyard or this vineyard and clone or anything. It's a clean slate starting from the very beginning, assessing each vineyard, each lot, and then building a blend from there. So 2023 was a lot of fun to do that with because, again, this is a vintage that is showcasing some real beautiful fruit characteristics, a freshness, brightness. This is going to be a really, really, I think, a great vintage. Historically, I think 23 for both whites and reds. And I think that you'll see why when you taste this wine.
To me, it's the acid with fruit. Other vintages can lead a little more, more fruit, less acid. Like this actually is like a great combination.
And the structure is just fantastic.
Yeah. This 23 Sonoma Coast is a perfect representation of it. It's so beautiful. Beautiful. All right. Well, we're going to move on. Hopefully you guys stock up on 23s. They're tasting really, really good. So we're going to move on to ViMaria. So ViMaria is part of our Legacy series. The other part of our Legacy series is, drumroll, you guys know at home? Four Siblings. All right. So Four Siblings is the Chardonnay that was planted, first vineyard we ever planted, 1969. Our dad, Angelo, Uncle Buck, Uncle Bob, Aunt Lorraine. And then ViMaria is the Legacy series Pinot Noir. So named in homage to our grandparents, Vittorio and Maria. So this is a wine that's near and dear to our heart for a lot of reasons. And it's a wine that James is going to talk about in a little bit. It's made to really represent our grandparents' boldness, spirit to immigrate from Italy in the early 1900s. Our grandfather came here in 1913. So James and his team were really an intentional kind of representation of that spirit. And so not so much our favorite barrels. I mean, a lot of them are in there. It just more represents kind of this bolder style Pinot Noir. So with that, we have my sister Mia, and my brother Mike, we have tons of story about our grandparents. They lived literally a mile from our house. So we spent our parents would always joke, had a babysitter 24/7. They would drop us off. So we spent a lot of time there. So Mike, do you have any stories of Naughty Nono that resonate?
I do. When I think of ViMaria, it makes me think of obviously my Noni and Nona, our grandparents. And, one story that we used, Steve alluded to, we used to get dropped off to be babysit. So our parents would go out and have a nice evening without the kids. So we'd spend the night there. And, in those days, the Italians, they didn't just kind of all of a sudden drop everything and watch the kids. Like, you were part of it. So,
and here's a visual. Imagine that.
There we go. So our grandparents would have over friends of Ghirardelli's. They used to come over and have dinner, and then they'd play Pedro cards afterwards. And the grandkids, we were just part of the dinner table. They'd play cards after, and we'd go do whatever we were. So I always think of getting together with wine. There was always red wine on the table, and they'd sit and talk and play cards for hours. And those memories are really precious. You think looking back on it. So this wine makes me think of those times of just enjoying spending time with family and friends, and just enjoying each other's company. So,
yeah, this is a little tribute to our grandfather that was done years ago. But there's his Pedro game, which is a Italian card game. His pruning shears, which they're actually for pear trees, and then all the pictures of him. And he actually was. We always joke, people like, when did you guys start? We always say 1969, but he actually had 100 vines in his front yard that he used to try to make wine. I mean, used to turn it into, as our wonderful grandmother, which was a amazing Italian cook, it turned into the best vinegar she could ever use. So she'd always jokingly encourage them every year to try to make wine because it turned into the best vinegar. But with that, this ViMaria is obviously near and dear to our heart. And every year we task James with this, like, this is a big task. You got to make something on the legacy series side, or kind of like our like you got to honor these. You feel pressure to make it
Absolutely, every year. When I start on this project of putting this blend together.
So give us and this ViMaria every year, we're looking at the notes, which you'll get them in your Club Familia shipment of all the different vineyards in there and stuff. And there's we always play because it's different each year, right?
It is, but again, clean slate.
Clean slate. So, maybe talk through what is that? Give us the ViMaria behind the scenes.
So the ViMaria is probably no question the most fun blend for me to put together, just because of the history and all that I have to work with. But it's also no doubt the most challenging. So when you look at this breakdown percentage of Pinot from all your different vineyards,
I'm counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
Yeah.
And the Coopers. 1,
yeah.
2, 3. I mean,
so it's taking the big picture. When I start doing the Sonoma Coast blends and things like that, and then just gradually, kind of whittling it down to, yes, kind of some of my favorite barrels, favorite lots, with the focus of making a little bit of a bolder style of Pinot, right? So that's the focus. And I think I just finished putting the 24 together, which we bottled recently. But also, I did the same for the 23. There was probably no less than 20 tasting times to put this blend together. So that's pulling samples, kind of whittling it down, little this, little that.
Check this one didn't make it.
Exactly.
You're out. You're out. You're in. You're out.
And then you got to, so it's a chess match every year. But it's fun, but it's really challenging. This 2023 falls in line stylistically with the wines that we just went through, as in that it's really kind of bright and fresh. The aromatics are big, the flavor compounds are big, but yet there's also a real nice weight to it. So again, kind of that best of both worlds of getting good acidity, but also having a bit of a bolder Pinot that's got some weight and some concentration in the mid-palate. So great food wine, but this is also a great Pinot Noir on its own. I could sit, kind of just drinking this because it's really fun to drink.
Well, the interesting thing, and again, I don't have the 22 or that. We used to, let's be frank, the earlier vintage of ViMaria used to be a lot more new look. Let's make this kind of true,
Yeah.
But it's amazing how it's still got over a third, 36, but this says 36%.
Yeah.
But it's so in the weight is in the right way. Right?
That's right.
It's That's done right. With the fruit and vineyard, and it's that because when I first tasted it, I'm there's so much richness, and I was shocked because usually it was the 50% new oak was kind of kind of the early days.
Exactly. Yeah. We kind of had to do that a little bit, but now that we've got all these, have identified all these great components, we don't necessarily need to use that much,
We give James a lot of options.
Yes.
Maybe we have to create a wine label that is options and just put all your options in there because we give them so many options to play with.
Oh, right? No. I think you had, for 2023, I think you had over 37 different lots of Pinot.
Yeah.
So you take 37 lots, and you got to whittle it down to one blend.
The puzzle,
Yeah.
So we want to thank you guys for being wonderful Club Familia members. We could not do all this wonderful work without you. Your support is everything to us. Harvest, Harvest is coming up. I'm working on my harvest beard. Mike's working on his harvest beard. So if you come to the harvest party, we actually have a harvest celebration party, October 19th, here at the Home Ranch. Please come. We're going to have amazing food truck. We're going to have a hand harvest contest like we did last year.
Fantastic.
So those that came last year, you're going to get your hands dirty, your feet dirty. So bring a second set of clothes if you want. And we're going to have a machine harvest demonstration, which is amazing. We did it last year, and it got raving success. So we're bringing the Pelong machine back. Mike may drive it this year.
Ready?
I'm going to get Mike on there. But please, October 19th. We're doing another new edition. We're doing Roberts. We have a Roberts Road Reserve Legacy, kind of our immersion tasting, I should say. That's actually being done up here. It has to be, if you can climb spiral staircase, we're going to be doing it up here. So we have lots of new things coming up. Come visit. We have the new wine club menu. We have a rotating Chardonnay on there, mystery Chardonnay, with lots of fun stuff. So please come visit us. We are looking forward to seeing you guys all soon. And most importantly, we are looking forward to a wonderful 2025 harvest.
Yes.
So we have a success in all forms. So cheers to all you.
Cheers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
That is it.